Hi, I'm Léo Gutierrez with the Gutierrez Group. On May 21st, 2026, a major chemical emergency occurred at the GKN Aerospace facility in Garden Grove, California. The situation prompted the evacuation of about 50,000 people, making it one of the largest evacuations in recent Orange County history. The evacuation zone expanded 9 square miles across multiple cities, leaving residential neighborhoods nearly deserted. Local schools and businesses were forced to close, and road closures on major streets and freeways disrupted traffic in the central Orange County area. Evacuees faced days of uncertainty, and many couldn't help but ask themselves, if a catastrophic event happens, can I afford to fix the damage to my home or business? Or worse yet, will I even have home to return to? Fortunately, the threat of a catastrophic explosion was officially eliminated on May 25th, and all displaced residents were allowed to return home on May 26th. So, how does the chemical crisis affect the real estate market? What should buyers and sellers know? Great question. Let's talk about what we like to call NHD, Natural Hazardous Disclosure. This is one of the most important documents that has to be used in every transaction in the state of California. Why is this important? The NHD shares a lot of information about the property and the surrounding area. It lists stuff like, are you in an earthquake zone, a fire zone, a flood zone? Is there a detention facility close by? Is there a military station close by? A natural hazard disclosure that's shared during the escrow process. And the buyers and sellers get to share the information to one another. That way, a buyer can make the most effective and wise decision when buying a property here in California. Now, let's take this for example. When you take information from an industry, it's something that could be a mile away. It can be your next door neighbor. But you want to know if there was some sort of chemical spill, or is there a nuisance that you're not aware that you would like to know? For example, let's say you live next to an airport. This is a really good example because if somebody wants to be able to travel quickly, they might choose that it's a positive when receiving that information. They might be a person who travels a lot. So being close to an airport might be a huge benefit to them. Now, for example, if someone is moving to an area like, let's just say Anaheim, or someone close to Disneyland, and they particularly don't like the high traffic area, they might look at it as a negative. So having information that shares stuff about the neighborhood is really important to a buyer. So NHDs are always required in the transaction in the state of California. Let's assume that we have a noisy neighborhood and you can't sleep at night, right? But that doesn't show up in the NHD. But the seller does know and is aware that that's probably the reason why they don't want to live in the neighborhood. They have the obligation to share that information with the buyer. So this is what we like to call material fact, right? So the buyer has to be able to make the decision based on everything that's known about the property. Somebody that lives in the neighborhood, for example, at the instigated Garden Grove, might choose to say, you know what? I've lived there for 30 years. I had no idea that there was a plant close by. So therefore, I choose to move. And they have the right to do that. If another buyer comes in and says, I want to move into the area and I don't care about what the chemical plant has going on, then it's a win-win for everyone. What are some of the long-term effects of something like this? Could it affect the property values? Yes, that could, but we won't know just yet. This should be something that we all think about for the next 24 hours, to the next 5 months, the next 5 years. But in 15, 20 years, it might not even make a difference to us. It could also mean that because of this incident, people now choose not to vote regarding growth. We, as real estate agents, have the right to share as much information as possible. And I think the sellers have an obligation to share everything they know about the property. And there should be a lot more transparency going on because it's really important for buyers to make an educated decision. The last thing you want is for a buyer to have buyer's remorse because of something that wasn't shared. Or even worse, when the buyer chooses to sue a seller for a material fact that the seller knew and never disclosed, you never want to be in that situation. My advice to anyone is disclose, disclose, disclose. Be honest. The houses will sell, the buyers will buy, and everyone's happy. In light of the GKN Aerospace incident, I want to recommend a federal resource that maps the locations of facilities that handle hazardous chemicals. The Toxics Release Inventory, or TRI, is one of the most powerful public environmental databases in the United States. It's run by the EPA and tracks how much pollution industrial facilities release into the air, water, and land. Every year, thousands of facilities report the quantities of specific chemicals they manage, whether they release them, recycle them, burn them for energy, or treat them on site. All of that information goes straight into the TRI. Whether you're a buyer, seller, or someone who just wants to be better informed, that TRI gives you the power to see what's happening in your community. It's important for buyers and sellers to understand the risks of homes in hazard-prone zones. The goal of this video is not to scare you, but to give you an understanding of how current events impact the real estate industry and your decision making. Today, many industrial sites are located in densely populated areas. Anyone can and will be exposed to hazardous chemicals. This is just the reality we're living in. But keep in mind, your proximity to industrial facilities does impact your level of exposure. So, I hope that you found this information helpful. If you have any other questions, please comment down below. We'd love to hear from you.